You're listening to the Digital Deep Dive, where we tackle the newest trends, strategies, and pain points shaping growth across the digital landscape. From Amazon and D2C to international expansion, join our host and e-commerce leaders across multiple industries for in-depth discussions on how to maximize your brands in the digital arena. Now, here's your host, Aaron Conant.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to Digital Deep Dive Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Conant, and today we've got Chris Perry back, one of my favorite people in the space. He's been on before a bunch of times. Much loved across the digital community for decades now, right?
Decades, yeah. So I started when I was one. So
yeah. Were you born in the late 1900s, as my kids?
Yes, I was. So it feels like that, honestly. Sometimes when I've done training programs and then somebody's like, "Oh, I thought that analogy used was so funny, but like, could you use like a more modern one?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" And they're like, "Well, Lord of the Rings." And you're like, "That was old?" And I'm like, "Well, I guess it is." Old. Star Wars is old. Like the old one is old. I guess, either one. I'm happy to be aged, or I would say ageless. Ageless,
like a fine wine or a fine cheese, Chris.
Exactly. I'm using anti-aging or pro-aging creams, and
so Chris, we should talk about AI today.
Yes.
And we were chatting a little bit before this, and I was like, we should stop the conversation and just hit record because there is a lot of chatter around AI. I've done a lot of events over the past year on AI, and this is like AI in the video generation, or AI helping you write copy, or AI. And the people want to know holistically what's going on and how's it going to affect their jobs. And I don't know if this is the path we want to go down, but What are you hearing right now? Because that's kind of what I want to share with the community as well. And we can kind of go down that rabbit hole. Does that sound good?
That sounds awesome. No, and I'm excited to be back. And like I said, I think this is a topic that Oscar and I at First Mover have a lot of passion for. And also, and I'm not worried about a lot of us in the industry, but there is a lot of hype around AI that, it's the pre-hype of the boys and girls who cried wolf ahead of the wolf ever really being there. There's a lot of hype around the capabilities and it's the high level transformation, right? But it's not to focus on a negative thing, but to be fair, there is a lot of high level hype, but also I would say less positive forecasting for what that means for work and for people. And so I have a lot of heart for the people, right? Because at the end of the day, and because we do a lot of upskilling, we're helping real people with not theory, but practitioner-based strategy, tactics, how to apply fundamentals all the way to like more advanced things. And so for us as AI is becoming part of these trainings and advisory projects and just discussions and content we put together, we realize there really needs to be like both an org discussion, but also a career discussion for people so that they understand just how real the impact is going to be. Now, we could be totally wrong, and it's not a doomsday prepping thing, but like I'd rather be wrong because a lot less people were impacted and you thought ahead, and almost like that traditional career book series that I loved going back a long time ago is, the What Color is Your Parachute? Did you check that you have a parachute? Did you know what color it was if it was to come out? Maybe it never has to come out, but I want to make sure you know. And to be fair, Oscar and I were joking about, I don't even want you to have a parachute. I want you to have a jetpack. What color is your jetpack? Right? What color is the smoke stream from your jetpack? Because I don't want you to fall. I want you to fly. But the reality is AI obviously is already impacting our personal productivity, our daily productivity, again, depending on what CPGs and retailers and vendors, what tools they allow you to use internally. Obviously, there's some limitations on what you can do and with what tools. Obviously, a lot of vendors and solution providers, data providers out there are starting to integrate AI. And so there's a lot of and we focus on that too, but no one ever actually gets to the thing about well, hey, what % of jobs are going to completely disappear, and which jobs are going to disappear, and what skills need to change in the ones that stay, and are you going to have them? And so it's not, again, it's not a doomsday prepping thing, but it is your odds of winning this lottery, which may not be the lottery you want to win, are extremely high. Way better than Powerball or Mega Millions, right? So the reality is, I don't want anyone to be dinosaurs, decades or centuries old here, And that classic cartoon of like the two dinosaurs on the island when Noah's Ark is going off. They said, that was today. I don't want you to miss it, because you and I and many of us have been in e-commerce for 15 to 20 years now. And maybe we were crying wolf ahead of the wolf really being there, like eating our lunch. AI isn't giving us 15 years. It's giving us 3. Like in a major, and e-commerce, to be fair, only changed roles. It didn't remove roles, right? AI will remove a lot of roles. So I think that's a place we've kind of broken up different groups that we know are starting to emerge and will emerge, what different groups need to be doing. We can go obviously a lot deeper on each of these, but just to help people kind of like start to think about, oh my gosh, well, what if I am in that group that gets completely displaced? What would I do next? Like, or how do I make sure I'm not in the displaced group, but I'm in the reskilled, evolved group, or I'm in a position to be a pseudo fractional entrepreneur, because not a lot of us are ready to be non-W2 employees, right? But when Oscar and I became non-W2 employees, there's a little bit of fear at first when you're like, I have to go hunt for my food, and I've got to, and there's a little bit of like the keep what you kill, but I've never had to hunt before. And then once you get over that little hump, it's not actually as hard as you think. I mean, you have to hustle, but I mean, like, we all hustle already. It's just a matter of it's a mindset shift. So these are just some of the things that we've had a lot of meaty discussions one-on-one with people. We're talking to organizations. I think my one challenge for the industry is that, let's be honest, I'm not nitpicking on any company. No CPG is going to say, about 40% of you are going to be gone. Like, nobody's going to say that. Now, behind closed doors, leaders might be like, hey, this could happen, right? We might need to plan for this. But no public company is going to say that until they have to, because they have to make that move to hit their bottom line. And so Wall Street and public markets.
But let me run a scenario by you, because I'm seeing a lot of this right now. Is we have the C-suite, the executive teams, pounding the table. AI. Let's do AI. Why aren't we doing AI? At the same time, we have the CIOs and the security officers and CTOs be like, stop with the AI. You can't keep plugging it into the network, and it's slowing it down. And then we have the actual workers who are looking at it from the standpoint of, do I want to accelerate the adoption of AI that might lead to me being out the door, or do I want to slow roll it? And on top of that, we've got AI firms that need standardized, organized data in order to work at high speed, or they have to do an individual integration with every single company, right, which slows things down. So, I mean, it's just a weird dynamic for people right now to say, hey, you know what? I hear the C-suite saying, the executive team saying, go in all in on AI. The tools aren't quite ready for it. IT's not quite ready for it. Tech team, security team's not ready for it. Why should I be ready for it? And that's especially,
a real question.
I want to be ready for it because it's going to take my job, or at least that's the fear, right? Like it might take my job.
And I think, and I always want to say, like, to be fair, there are some roles, and I would say especially very heavy admin roles, things that have tasks that are more easily automated, that already have been replaced or are already being, I would say transitioned into, where somebody who used to do all of that maybe more manual, less effective or less efficient work, but was still needed work. Don't get me wrong. It's all valuable work. Just doesn't need to be done the same way anymore. Has had a little bit of a bridge time to start adding other responsibilities. And I kind of think about, and I think to the actual admins in a lot of CPG organizations, right? There used to be an admin for every team. And even be pre-AI, some of that work got consolidated to fewer admins who had to represent more leaders or more teams, right? So, and that was before AI. So there is some bridge in certain roles with automatable tasks that will disappear, or fundamentally, like, half of the role will change. And so people will have to be a hybrid of doing something else and that role. But it's not, as I've seen, and I appreciate, it's a pro-human opportunity, right? It's AI plus human equals Super Mario, right? Like or Mario plus mushroom or plus fire flower equals fire Mario, right? That the idea is 1 + 1 can equal 3. It's not to totally remove all jobs, but this isn't one of those things where we have 15 years to go like, well, I'll get to ecom after COVID forces me to. And even then I'll wait a few more years before I actually worry about whether that's impacting my real JBP or my real go-to-market strategy when it already is. I'll just let the ecom team do it until maybe they get reintegrated in and suddenly it's on me. So from an ecom, we've already seen this, but we had more time. AI is already playing a huge role. So if you don't figure out how AI can help you so that you're ready when it becomes a bigger part and the tools are truly available, you're going to be so far behind. Because I don't want to oversimplify, but if you don't even know how to effectively prompt engineer like strategy questions, right? Like without putting proprietary things into tools you're not allowed to.
Let's start there. Like, what is step one? Like, what is it prompted? Like in your mind? Like, I mean, and you guys, at First Mover, you're dealing with large enterprise companies. You understand
challengers all the way to big ones. Yeah,
right.
All sizes.
So all sizes, you see it all. You take a step back and you think about it holistically. What is step one for people who are sitting back? Because I did a dinner. It's very interesting. We did dinner in New York City just a week before Christmas, and it was around AI and personalization. This idea that websites can become ultra personalized because it can know everybody now, and it can render individualized experiences in real time, even if we're sitting side by side. As long as it has different profiles from from each of us, that it's going to give us a personalized experience. And so we're trying to like, how is AI going to affect that? And what it kept going back to in the conversation was a very basic, how, when you put it out there, like, how are we going to use AI? What's going to help? And people wanted to know, how can I use AI to shorten my time writing briefs? How can I use Copilot to help me write ad copy? How can I use AI? And it was basically how to use AI to do everyday tasks. And it was kind of like that eye-opening moment. Like right now, people are at square one.
Yeah.
Right. There are a few people out there. They've got some cool AI tools. They're doing some really cool stuff. But as a whole, people are at square one. But so in this scenario, like, what is step one for people?
No, so it's a great one. And there are, I would say there is some structure out there, and like whether you want to go to academic curriculum level or just more of like, again, prompt engineering best practices and ways to prompt a chat GPT or a Copilot or an internal tool. Because again, you get out what you put in, right? So like prompt models and like how to frame things. But it's not just that part, which is definitely part of step one, is how do I use a tool just to aid me in professional productivity? And again, not just, and I don't get me wrong, we've all used chat GPT or a tool to like help remove, can you write me a quick email or something like, and if you have it, that would be step one, or step zero, right? Is just start using it. Part of this is like bumping around in the night a little bit with the tool to see what the art of possible is. And then realizing like, hey, I asked it for a vacation. If you did it for personal use, right? There's obviously bad, good, and better prompts, right? Write me a vacation itinerary. And then it gives you an itinerary and you're like, well, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go to Aruba. Well, you didn't say you wanted to go anywhere. You just said, give me a vacation. So obviously you start having to put in almost like the current events projects we probably did in social studies back in the days. So who, what, where, when, why, right? You got to put in all the different pieces, but you got to start practicing and seeing, almost fast failing, right? I did this and I didn't get the output I wanted. Don't then go, oh, the tool stinks, I can't help me. No, you stink because you don't know how to use it, right? Not permanently stink, right? But now go and keep iterating, right? Like the cool thing is, what failure is it? Like it's no one else is, unless you submit the work, no one saw the work yet. So the point is, it's to start playing with the tools. It's the same, like, honestly, I always equate it to like, there are a lot of people that still don't really understand, even leaders now, 15, 20 years into e-commerce, who don't really know how to do a digital shelf manual audit. And part of it is that they just haven't done it yet. Like it's a little bit of like, well, do you know how to do an in-store audit? Well, yeah. Why? Well, because I've done it before. I know what to look for. Oh, so if I just spirit walk the digital shelf a little bit, I'm going to go, oh, why is that happening that way? Well, the first time you may not have the answer, so you'll ask somebody who knows, your e-com person or your digital shelf person or your retailer. Then they'll answer it and you go, I'll never need to ask that question again because I know now. It was a dumb question or it was a really smart one and I found a gap or an opportunity. So part of this is step one or step zero, the zero moment of truth here, if we want to Googleize this a little bit, is just to start orienting yourself.
Do anything. Just do
anything, right?
Yeah, you're right. I don't even know if it is step one. Listen, even if it doesn't even, I totally agree. As you're going through this, I'm just going through my own like personal experiences. Don't even start with work. Start with ChatGPT. Don't even get the paid for version yet, and go in there and plan a vacation, even if it's a fake vacation, even if it's fake, and you'll realize, because now I actually use it for that, right? Like we're taking the family out to Yosemite, and I'll say, hey, I'm going out there. Here's the ages of my kids. Here's the time frame. Here's the time of year. Here's what I want to see. Moderate hiking, right? Like not super, super fast pace. And the more I gave it, but that again is like the fifth vacation I've planned, and I keep getting better and better and better at it, and it gets better as it learns me. But maybe that's just step one, and then you realize, wait, maybe that's step zero. Right. And then you realize, wait, I can do that same thing within Microsoft Copilot. It's more of my recommendation, because you don't want to be taking business related stuff, staying into a free version of ChatGPT and introducing it to the web. But just do something to step zero, even if it's for personal. Start to get used to it.
Dip your foot in the water and realize, like, oh my gosh, it's really hot, or hey, it's cold, and I don't know how to swim. Actually, now that I think about it, well, good. Start practicing in the shallow end, and then work your way up. Then you can see, like, again, as with anything, for those who really want to know more, they're going to seek more information. For those who are okay just dabbling, at least you dabbled. But step one is that, and to your point. Then, once you're comfortable kind of with a little bit of the ways of working with some of these tools, and the fact that poor inputs get poor outputs and better inputs get better outputs, and how to curate it. Again, you don't have to be, I'm not a coder. I'm not going to be the decision science analyst of any company, but I'm willing to be dumb enough and humble enough to like spirit walk a tool to figure it out and ask the dumb questions or not so dumb questions to figure it out. But once I do, then it's starting to go like, well, then in really almost like taking a few minutes to say, what use cases internally and personally too, but what use cases could I apply this to? I know this will sound really silly, but we partner with the Category Management Association. We did this in-person workshop with omni category leaders at various CPGs, which was awesome, in Cincinnati, and it was kind of oriented around Kroger, but it was for all retailers. And we did in-store walks on day one, and we pulled a whole like assessment recommendations, and then we did an omni side of like omni category management. But what was so interesting was, like, when we were in the store, you could take a picture of the shelf and then upload that into ChatGPT and ask it to give you a share of shelf analysis, SKU count by brand. You could have it by pulling like literally from the picture. So instead of you counting them, these were like, and I probably annoyed the team, the learners and leaders a lot, because I was like, did you know you could use AI to help you here? And because there was a little bit of that, I hadn't thought about using it that way. And so the point wasn't take away the insights or the decision making or the strategy part that you actually add the value to. It's remove all that horrible work that probably felt really easy to do, even if it was boring or tedious. At least it was like, well, I know I can do that part. That's the easy part. We'll remove that so you spend the time actually assessing. What does it mean that Kroger, Meijer, Walmart, and Target have, for brand X, have very different share of eye-level placement in the in-store world, and then assess that against your online digital shelf, search rank, share of top search rank, as one like micro example, right? So it started to become really, now we have some really interesting insights to discuss internally to bring to a retailer. Did you know that I have a disproportionately lower share of your eye-level placement in store, despite winning on all the key online platforms, including your competitors, right? Suddenly that the insight becomes a very strategic implication or opportunity, right? In a JVP or as part of your go-to-market strategy. So it's step zero, to your point, is really just to be comfortable so that you're not, the aversion to using the tool isn't, I don't know how to do it. It's where can I do it? And what tools am I allowed to use, right? But that's the other one little thing I hear a lot of companies, they've said basically, don't do X, okay? When you hear don't, and you're not told what you can do, you don't do anything, right? I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm not going to do anything just in case, right? Find out what the box is so you can really think outside the box, so you don't get in trouble, but so that you don't do nothing, right? That's a really important barrier that I see a lot of leaders get stuck on, right? It's easier to do nothing because my company gave me the don'ts. They didn't tell me what I can do.
Right. So first step, ask for tools you can use.
Yes.
I should say step 0 is going to be just try it on your own personal stuff.
Right.
Just, and there's lots of free versions. Just give it a whirl, practice doing that. Step 2, hey, what tools can we use? And I know a lot of cases it's going to be Microsoft Copilot. It just is. Neither here nor there. Maybe you have your own ChatGPT instance, whatever it is. Next one is, okay, what tools can we use? And then where can I start applying it?
Right.
Like, what are those tedious tasks that I don't like to do? And get creative, because most of the time the answer is yes, it will do. To your point, I took a picture, like I took a picture, I uploaded to ChatGPT, and in that case, I don't think that's bad, right? You're not taking any company data and putting that in.
I could do that to ChatGPT because that's public-facing information. And I didn't say, well, here's my proprietary data to map sales to the share of sales to the share of shelf. You didn't do that part. You just asked it for, anyone could have seen that and uploaded that picture. So that's where I would say there's a little bit of personal discernment too, where you need to say, like, I'm asking how to write an email around a sensitive situation without giving any personal proprietary, private information. And then I can reapply that to my own business if ChatGPT's tool is better than my internal ChatGPT capability. So know what your limitations are, because obviously, just like Sparky and Rufus on Walmart and Amazon are different tools and they can do different things. You kind of have to know what the parameters are and the limitations are of each tool you use, so that you're not limiting yourself when you could use something else that could help you.
Right. So then we start identifying the tedious tasks, and we start implementing these different tools just to try to live the reality. Like you said, you're not going to break it. And there is something from, like, my age, right? I'll loop you in, probably within 5 years of me, where we get our first VCR, you're going to break it. First DVD player, CD player, you're going to break it. Your first computer, you're going to break it. You're always told, like, well, that was expensive, you're going to break it. We're not going to break these things. You're not. And so there's this apprehension around new technology where, hey, what if it fails? What if I break it? That's not going to happen. So the more you use it, the more you realize, hey, I might not get the right answer the first time because I know what the answer is, but I can train it, right?
And when you submit, when you create something with any of these tools, even the basic tools, remember, you didn't hit send on the email yet. This wasn't like, I'm just going to let Copilot write all my emails, at least as of today, without any oversight or curation or personalization, right? You haven't turned over everything to Skynet to let it run the world, right? You're still involved, unless you're not. I mean, then that's an issue. But to the point, the failure is in front of you, right? Hey, I was trying to paint this picture on a canvas and it didn't come out the way I wanted. Well, you didn't send it to anybody, so repaint it, right? And in a matter of seconds, right? So to your point, there is apprehension because we're trained not to be allowed to fail. Even though everyone says fail fast and test and learn, no one is allowed to test, fail, and then learn and then do it again. And when they are, what happens? No one ever talks about the failure again. Even though if we talked about it, we would never do the failed things. We'd only do the better things. So we're not really allowed to, in our commerce space, as leaders or middle managers or entry level, fail. But in this regard, you can, because who saw it? You can fix it before anyone sees it. You're not going to say, write me an email to my boss outlining these 3 things to help me make it more succinct, because I'm very verbose personally. So I'm a singer and a talker. So I always I have to rethink and organize my emails to make them easier, simpler, less verbose. I can have ChatGPT help me with that. I didn't hit send yet. So my boss didn't see my email, right? I should definitely have read that before I send it to them, him or her or whoever, but but I think these are some of those mental barriers that seem so obvious as we say them out loud, but this is human psychology 101, right? The change is hard. We always say at First Mover, then let's change that, right? Get over the hump. It's not as scary as you think, especially this, because no one has seen the failure yet until you present it to them.
And I can tell you, just from how many people I talk to, I try to have 1,000 brand conversations every year. We do hundreds of events.
Yeah.
The pulse that I'm getting, like, right now is the only people who are behind and they're barely behind, right? Again, we're saying just trying things out is step zero.
Right.
Are the people who aren't doing anything. And so if you think that everybody's out there, now there are a few, people way out ahead of the pack. They're usually
always a pioneer, a torchbearer out there who's
right, way out there doing crazy stuff that most, larger companies would not, be happy about. But nonetheless, there's small, mid-sized businesses. You have people going crazy, doing awesome stuff. Majority of people are somewhere between step 0 and step 1 right now. Yeah. That's just the reality. And the idea of using AI has been pushed right now. I would like my new tech partner to have tons of AI embedded in it. So when they plug in, I can use the AI that they're using on their platform, but it's not actually me doing it. It's just me hiring the right service provider, a vendor, or whatever.
Right.
But internally, if you get to step 1 where you're trying this with random stuff, you're literally in the heat of the pack, right? You're all together with everybody else right now.
No. And I think that's the part. So I go back to so again, we having led change, i.e. the change being e-commerce, omni, retail media, digital shelf, insert change here for the last almost 2 decades within the CPG space. Change is hard. There's a change curve. Every change that's ever happened, I mean, even mass retail was a change at one point from fragmented regional or mom and pop. So everything has been a change. It was a little bit of a longer cycle. Whenever you get to a change, they're the people that adopt it, the first movers. Then there are the early adopters. Then there are the late adopters. Then there are the laggards, right? There's always somebody, everyone's on the curve and most people are in the middle. But I go back to most of us in life are not the people that would sleep outside of the Apple store for the next iPhone when they could get it the next day and not have to have slept outside, right? Most people aren't, and that's okay. To be honest, I'm not. My wife would say I'm a first mover at work and not a first mover at home. We all are first movers in different parts of our lives. But the challenge, though, is then there are people that are almost I would say first it's the passion, it's the interest. Then it's the fear part, right? The fear of missing out or the fear I'm going to be left behind. I want to light that fire under people, not to scare them, but because if you don't force yourself to move from 2-0 or from 0 to 1 or 1 to 2, and these steps kind of we're arbitrarily talking about, where you will be left behind. And because the percentages of within these groups, so just as putting numbers, real numbers, there are about 3 million white collar workers in CPG today within North America. It's a little vague based on different buckets, but I believe that, right? Across all the different functions, and that also may include some of the periphery like agencies and vendors and things that support CPG, right? So that's a lot of people, right? So when you think, something could happen to a lot of us, but it may not happen to me. Well, to be fair, about 8 to 12% of that group, that's 250 plus thousand people, are going to be completely displaced by a lot of the tasks. And this is from lots of different, this isn't our made up forecast, right? These are the average of the impact from, the Deloittes and the McKinseys and the Bains and all these, different estimates, right? Because of the nature of the work being automated and a lot of new tools coming in and things like that. About 50% of this group will remain only if they've reskilled themselves and evolved and at least moved to level 1, step 1, if not ideally level 2 and 3. Then there will be a group of people, and this could be about 12 to 18% of the people that will become fractional or hybrid, right? And this is the idea that you're still extremely valuable for what you're doing, and actually maybe be able to personally gain more from working across 3 different CPGs, or as an agency, as a contractor for one agency, but you also work part-time. Not like in any I would say less transparent way. You'd be a fractional, right? A fractional CMO, a fractional digital shelf specialist, a fractional retail media strategist. I mean, you name it, right? But that requires that. I mean, that's upwards of 500,000 people who aren't necessarily working for themselves right now or working as an independent contractor. That's a different mindset when you have been a W-2 employee for a while. There will be new people that come in and new type that are truly AI native roles or AI native talent. you might need that person too, if you can learn those skills. And then there will be, I always say, that, like just like with any org change or people, like companies wait for some of the people that are going to retire early or give packages to. There are going to be what I call the transitioned, folks who maybe choose to leave. Right? Hey, I have a family business I've always wanted to join, or I'm not making light of it. I want to become a yoga instructor, right? Or what? Something. There's no shame in any one of those things. I want to retire early, or but that requires a different financial stability and a different plan, right? But those 5 groups, right? Displaced, reskilled, fractional, AI native, transitioned, for lack of better terms for these, those are real groups with significant hundreds of thousands of people in them. The vast majority of them are not, I'm still doing status quo the way I've always done it. I kind of hid and I hid in this nook and cranny in my company. I made it through and I made it through unscathed, and I'm still here without having to do anything differently. We're all going to have to change. So the reality is not all of us have to change 180 degrees, right? But we do need to make sure we've changed 90 degrees so that we're ready to use AI in some of just those basic things. I assessed my roles and responsibilities. I looked at where the most time is being spent. I looked at I broke it down into individual tasks. Could I save time and be more effective doing this, and then arguably allow me to add even more value? This isn't about you saying, Aaron, this isn't about you saying, actually in my role, at BWG Connect, they don't even need to pay me anymore. Like you're not doing this assessment so that you can work yourself out of a job. You're actually trying to make sure that you're being more effective, because then someone else isn't coming along and saying, well, Aaron actually just sends emails all day. I'm just being silly. 50% of his time is sending emails that are literally a carbon copy of one another. We could automate that, and we don't need to pay him as much or even employ him anymore. Right? Don't leave someone else who's going to make swath decisions without the human part included in it to make that decision for you. I always like to be so good they can't ignore you, right? Be indispensable, because you've figured out how to add immense value using tools so that you are 1 + 1 = 3, right? And I think that's not theoretical, it's real. And that starts with, am I oriented to the tools available to me? And do I know what the parameters and restrictions are for the ones I can use for proprietary stuff? Have I done my, almost like the Eisenhower, urgent and important roles and responsibilities? Where are the elements, the links in the chain? Are there tools that could help that I have access to? Are there new tools out there that could save the company money? So then you start becoming a real strategist at whatever level you are, because you're helping the company and yourself at the same time. So there's always that little bit of self-preservation, but if you do this appropriately, you don't have to self-preserve, because you are doing that in parallel, but it's not just to save my own bum. I'm actually saving everyone's bum. And I also look really valuable at the same time, right?
I think the coolest part is all of these first steps are all completely doable. And I see
without any help. I mean,
right.
To be fair, we provide, I mean, again, and
really quick, give us the quick rundown, because I see we're coming to time here, but the how and the why people reach out to you and Oscar at First Mover. You guys are doing awesome stuff here. We've been longtime friends. Like the how and why would people reach out to you?
So obviously you can reach out to us and like tactically in many ways. You can email us at hello@firstmover, or Chris at First Mover, or Oscar at First Mover. You can connect with us. Don't be a stranger. Be our BFFs on LinkedIn. Connect with us. You can go to our website, firstmovr.com. And honestly, almost everything that we do publicly is free and available. We put on a lot of events, partner on a lot of events. We are content people first and foremost. So we are very much sharing lots of real, from the trenches, from the leadership roles ourselves, working with them, free education on AI, on e-commerce, on retail media, on digital shelf. We've got tons of free events and pieces of content you can engage. We promote other amazing content out there that and try to house that wherever we can. But if we can help you with individual upskilling, organizational upskilling, we're doing a lot. AI increasingly is its own topic of how do I understand AI for commerce for an organization, but then also AI embedded in a lot of the in a lot of the trainings and advisory projects that we do around digital shelf processes, right? Or digital shelf routines, and how can I use AI? How is AI starting to impact retail media? How can it help your JBP planning process? If not using the tool to assess, am I missing one of the strategic pillars that my retailer would care about right now? Or to do an assessment of your retailer and getting a different POV because maybe you missed something that would be like an indirect or unspoken implication of what they're going to care about in the next year. I mean, there's so many cool things you can do, but we do a lot of that, especially with an AI, but we can also just help you. Sometimes it's having a fellow friend, a fellow first mover, just go like, hey, have you just done this simple thing? And you'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so dumb. And you're like, no, you're not dumb.
Yeah.
You're
busy. A lot of times it's just conversations. That's where I was having some, conversations earlier today. And that's like one of the number one things that people are saying is you just have to have a conversation with other people on it. You can't stay in your own little node. You can't stay isolated. Get out there, have conversations, set up time, build your network, and set up, nonstop connections with new people and current people that are leading the way.
And I'm not worried about any of you out there listening or watching. I would just say, we see, and everyone has an ego and everybody has a personality, and you should preserve the positive ego and the positive personality, but literally be humble. Like, you don't know what you don't know. I don't know what I don't know. People say, oh, Chris, you're such an expert. Really? On what? Like, oh, on this. Well, until tomorrow when it changes, right? So my point is, come in with that very healthy, as Jim Collins says in Good to Great, the awesome book, it's that productive paranoia, right? Always intellectual curiosity. Go in with humility. It's not that you're saying, well, I don't know anything. You know a lot, right? But go in, though, like you don't know anything, and then ask the questions that someone who doesn't know anything would ask so that you suddenly know it and you can train others. And I think we always say, too, because we get a lot of experts who are part of the organization, and whether you're an e-com expert or an Amazon expert or whatever, there's sometimes they check out. They're like, oh, I know this fundamental stuff. And you're like, yeah, but, Yoda is an expert Jedi master because he can teach other Jedi Knights how to become Jedi masters, right? So just because you're a Jedi Knight and you know how to use the Force doesn't mean you can teach other future Jedi to use the Force. So if you're really an expert in something, you can teach someone else something, right? So, but that should be all of our kind of that fear and inspiration, and we shouldn't be forced into this. We should choose a path where we are the ones who can help others be valuable and maintain their roles, because this is very much a pro-human discussion, right? This isn't anti-AI and this isn't anti-human. It's pro-human. I think it's like the Dove pro-beauty thing we were talking about earlier. It's pro-age, right? It's pro-age, it's pro-human, and you can be an advocate for other humans if you can help them, but you have to be able to swim first before you help them swim, right? So it's an important one. But if we can help anyone, we do every topic under the sun. We help companies and individuals.
And I know, and you guys put out tons of great content as well. So I'd encourage everybody, follow up with Chris and Oscar over at First Mover. Look them up on LinkedIn. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Digital Deep Dive. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.